Shan Masood and Abdullah Shafique cash in on a deck resembling the Earth, if you believed everything Matt Letizia said, while Atkinson, Leach and Woakes dig out key evening wickets. Also, Golf Gate. Welcome back to the Cricket Council podcast, where we'll be bringing you day-by-day coverage of Pakistan v England throughout the series, and it's been an interesting start. Luke, what have you made of proceedings today?
Yeah, it's sort of a tale of two halves or thirds, if you want to say that. So in the morning session and the afternoon session, it was sort of all Pakistan, wasn't it? But I'm grateful that England sort of, in the evening session, both managed to slow down the run rate a little bit and took a few key wickets. So, yeah, I think it's still in the balance, yeah. I think the morning session tomorrow will be particularly important. And if England can get a couple more wickets, yeah, I think it's game on.
Yeah. I think it was Naseem Shah who went in at the end, so they just need to make sure he literally gets out for a duck within like an over and a half kind of thing. You can't be having him sort of knuckle in for half an hour, 45 minutes or so. It starts to get frustrating, but I think they've brought it back because it was a tough couple of sessions to start up. First up, it's time for the summary of the day. Shan Masood compiled a magnificent 151 as he combined with Abdullah Shafique to put on 253 for the second wicket, as Pakistan posted 328 for 4 on day one of the first test in Multan. Shan and Abdullah's partnership was the second highest second wicket stand for Pakistan in a test against England. The Pakistan's captain, Shan, racked up his ton at almost a runner ball in a controlled but aggressive knock before edging more slowly towards 150 as fatigue set in. Abdullah was also impressive for his 102 off 184 balls. He played with a more watchful approach, although he was lucky to survive a run-out chance on 34. A direct hit from Ollie Pope and he was gone. After going wicketless throughout the afternoon session, Atkinson and Leach mustered the two crucial wickets of Abdullah and Shah respectively, before Woakes removed Babar Azam LBW as England fought back. Babar and Saud Shakeel had looked unflappable for almost all of their fourth wicket partnership of 61, before Woakes struck in the second last over of the day. Pakistan finished the day 328 for 4. Shan Masood top scored with 151 from 177 balls, and Abdullah Shafique had 102 of 184. Saeed Ayub was dismissed cheaply for 4 in the morning session, and Babar Azam went in the second last over of the day for 30. Saud Shakeel remains unbeaten on 35, with Naseem Shah on 0 going into tomorrow. Gus Atkinson was the pick of the England bowlers, with 2 for 70, and Woakes and Leach managed a wicket each. Yeah. How much of the second wicket stand did you see? Because it was pretty horrible to view as an England supporter.
Yeah, I must admit, I watched parts of it. I was also listening to TMS, which is always enjoyable. But yeah, I think they both batted really well. Obviously, Masood was a lot more aggressive and didn't let the spinners settle, which I think is always important. Bashir, especially in the morning session, I think struggled a little bit, didn't he?
He went for 42 for no wicket.
Yeah. And then when I actually took the chance to look at social media, and it was quite a negative outlook at that point in time.
I think people it's harsh. They've taken people literally 45 overs of bowling, and it not being, it wasn't brilliant, but a ridiculous, one of the flattest pitches I've ever watched a day of cricket on that I can remember.
I think that's just cricket and England fans in general, right?
Yeah,
very, very quick to make assumptions. But I think when England are picking these players sort of based on, I guess, sort of feel or how they've looked and not necessarily on statistics, if it doesn't go right, I think people do and will criticise their selection, especially when there's people in the county championship with much better records and not getting the gig. I did see one tweet about Potts and why Cast was playing ahead of him. I think it's, to be honest, I think Cast actually did bowl quite well and I do like him. Yeah. But when you look at Potts' record this year, I think He bowled amazingly in the county championship. I remember one game against Lancashire, he took a 9-fer. He can bat as well. He got 150 as a night watchman against Warwickshire. So yeah, I think unless Cast really does perform early in the series, I wouldn't be surprised if Potts does get a go at some point.
Yeah, I agree, but I do also agree that Cast actually looked quite threatening, like especially in the evening. He got given the new ball. I mean, obviously, this is just I've remembered this because it was literally the last over of the day. But he looked, properly threatening in that last over of the day. He nearly had, I think it was, Shaquille. So I think there's definitely quite a few positives to take. I thought the spinners could have been better, but yeah, as we said, Bashir, he was a lot better in the afternoon and the evening. I think he went for 42 and then 17 in the afternoon session, and something similar in the evening session as well. So yeah, on the spinners, what did you make of Leach? He's been brought back in. He gets a lot of criticism for being too defensive with his fields and, not varying with, maybe he doesn't toss it up too often. He just looks to bowl the same line and length, ball after ball, over after over. What did you make of his selection and of him today?
Yeah, I think you always know what you're going to get with Leach. And I think he sort of did it today. Yeah, he has, of all the English spinners, he definitely has the best control. I'm just not sure he's going to bowl you to many test match victories, which I think in the subcontinent, I think that's so important, the second spinner. And yeah, as you say, they can, if Leach is tying down one end, they can afford to be a bit more experimental. And they might go for a few more runs, but they also need to be picking up wickets. And that's why, to be fair, I really like Rehan Ahmed. Having a leg spinner, I think, is always more dangerous, turning away from the bat. I know they do have quite a few left-handers, but he's also got that wrong un in his locker. So, yeah, I think it's hard on Bashir again. Like he's not bowled that much in the county championship this summer. He's still young, sort of learning his craft. So yeah, maybe he'll grow into the series, but let's see.
Yeah, and this is from watching this morning. A big thing is the difference in turn that Bashir and Leach generate. Like Leach, I can't remember a ball that turned like noticeably. Whereas obviously with Bashir, he wasn't getting that much turn today because the deck is just like insanely flat. But I think it was a 40th over of the day. He bowled an absolute perler to Shan Masood, just drifting in sort of onto his middle stump and then darting back away from the bat and just beating the bat and missing the outside edge. And there's a couple more occasions where Bashir got that kind of turn going again. Whereas Leach, you just don't see it at all. But if that, he's not picked to do that. He is picked, as you said, to hold down an end. And yeah, moving on, like Atkinson, I thought bowled really well today. He had 2 for 70, and was probably, the most threatening bowler throughout the day for England. Definitely the most threatening seamer. Had the early wicket of Ayub for 4, and then later the wicket of Abdullah Shafique. What is it about him, do you think, that he's got this knack for just the Shafique wicket came at a really crucial time, just as they were really sort of squeezing England. What is it that he's got that he just has this knack to take big wickets?
Yeah, I don't want to do him a disservice, but I think in that particular dismissal, it was a really tired shot.
Yeah, both dismissals were tired. The one of Masood was also, he just
again.
he just needed to go off really. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, but I think, you saw throughout the summer, he's a really, really exciting prospect. And as you say, is some bowlers just have that knack of getting wickets. And I've seen some pieces on him, like he's got a very good seam presentation. He can bowl with a wobble seam. And I think he's going to just continue to learn.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot written and also spoken about Anderson not being there at this point.
I've got a section lined up, Luke. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But
yeah.
And he was also I thought he was the most threatening of the seamers with the short ball as well. There's a spell after lunch where he had Shan actually looking a tiny bit rattled, probably the only time during his innings until he got out. One a glove going over, when he tried to pull, going over the slips, and another spooned into the offside. And sticking with the seamers, Chris Woakes, he struggled for most of the day. I was absolutely delighted to see him take that crucial wicket. It was the second last over of the day, I think, removing the key man, Babar Azam, LBW, and it was reward because he toiled away and he kept going. But do you think he should be there?
I mean, I was thinking about this earlier, and I know they want to move forward and they're planning for the next Ashes series. But can anyone tell me that if Anderson was still available for selection, he wouldn't be doing a better job than Chris Woakes is now? And also, okay, I know we'll come to it, but Anderson is supposed to be the bowling coach and he's not there. If he was playing, do you not think he would have a better effect on these young bowlers just to be able to speak to them at mid-on or mid-off?
Well, let's go into that. Let's go into the James Anderson golf gate. So of course he's missing at the moment from the coaching setup, because it finished yesterday, playing in the some golf that was happening at St Andrews. What's it called? The Dunhill Links or something.
Yeah, the Pro-Am, right?
Dunhill Links Pro-Am. And it's quite annoying, I think, because it's just well, you're meant to be, of all the times, and it's been said by loads of people already, but of all the times to not be around the team, I know he's not officially the coach. I know it's a consulting role in inverted commas, but this week leading up to the test match, as you were about to say a moment ago, was the time for him to genuinely teach these players how to get the best out of reverse swing, how to hold down an end well, maybe how to use a wobble seam, all of the weapons he's got in his arsenal to take wickets in these kind of, these grueling conditions that England was subjected to today. And Brendan McCullum spoke to Sky Sports yesterday, and he kind of put a bit of an odd twist on it, which was that he said that now we are missing him. That's an affirmation of how good an impact Jimmy has made in the short period of time during his transition from player to coach. And it's well, yeah, great. We're really missing him during a time where you could really do with him there. I don't really understand the logic. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it actually increases the pressure on Woakes as well, because he's sort of the lead bowler in this attack now, but we all know his record away from home isn't great at all. So I think he's focusing a lot on his own bowling, and then you've got these two other young bowlers who, Cars is on debut, and I don't think Atkinson's ever played a test match outside England. So they are so raw. And when we go back to the last series we played in Pakistan and we were so successful, that was really our strength, the seam bowling. You had Anderson, Robinson, and Wood, and I think they completely outbowled the seamers in the Pakistan seamers, and obviously the spinners did well, but because they bowled with such control and picked up wickets, and then allowed the spinners to come in, and they weren't under such pressure. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as the series develops. As I said earlier, it's very easy to get on a train and sort of say, they've made a load of wrong decisions, but there's a lot of cricket still to be played. So
this is the thing. We need to be careful with how far we criticise the bowling, because although it was a tough day and a bit of a tough watch, they actually have brought it back in the final session quite impressively. So it was first Atkinson who removed Abdullah, and then Leach removed Masood, who were both played very, very tired strokes. So it was Abdullah chipped to Pope at point before Shan hit one straight back to Leach, who had him caught and bowled. And then obviously Woakes at the end there, really good bowling, made sure he was, testing Babar around his pads, and he just missed a straight one, played all around it, but he's done the job. They've taken the gamble with taking the new ball, because both the Pakistani batters at that point were piling on. They were piling on the runs, but they were scoring quite quickly. There's a few nice drives and all the rest of it. But they managed to get the night watchman in to hopefully get rid of early tomorrow morning. So all is not lost. I think it was 95 for 3 for that session. So that's definitely England's session at the end there. So we can't be too critical. So one of the reasons why England's attack has struggled a little bit is that they've been without Ben Stokes. And not only have they missed his bowling, I'm sure they'll miss his batting, but they've also perhaps missed his leadership out on the pitch, although Pope did some good captaincy in that last session, to be fair. Some good bowling changes, right decision with the new ball. But how much of a miss do you think Stokes has been or will be?
Yeah, you're right. So with Stokes, I heard them speaking about it on TMS, and they were saying he's been in the nets today, he's bowling, he's been doing a lot of running. So I think it's not too long until he's fit again. But when that partnership was building between Shafique and Masood, it was just crying out for Stokes. He's the X factor in the team, and I think he can create something out of nothing and just bowl a magic ball, and then that's when that partnership could have got broken, and not late into the afternoon when they were sort of tiring. And as well, sort of going back to the inexperience of the bowling attack, if he was leading the side, I'm sure he could have spoken a bit more to Atkinson or to Cars, even to Chris Woakes, given him a bit of positive reinforcement. And I know Pope is there, and bless him, I think he's doing quite a good job. But who would you prefer speaking to your bowlers, Ben Stokes or Ollie Pope? It's sort of a bit of a no-brainer.
No, it's a total no-brainer. Yeah, I agree. They've missed him, and he can get that ball reverse swinging as well, can't he? And we didn't see much of that. There's a tiny hint from Woakes during the sort of end of the afternoon session into the evening session, but it wasn't exactly too much on offer. Maybe that's the conditions. Apparently, it's less likely to happen in these sort of earlier months, whereas last time, close to Christmas, you get more of a swing for some reason. I don't know why. Last section I've got written down is just called Fun Chat. So I wanted to ask you, Luke, this could be quite tricky given that you didn't watch the coverage. Did you see any of those funny little adverts they had on?
No.
Oh, well, I particularly enjoyed Affa's doing an advert for some washing powder. He delivered it. He delivered it.
The commentators were the ones advertising the product.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just
God,
sort of randomly flicked. They obviously had obligations to do it, but I think it was probably once an hour. And they had all sorts on. They had, I think, they had the washing powder's the one that I remember quite well, and something about something to do with like a phone charger which has solar panels on it, so you don't need to charge it. You can just plug it in. And Afas he was in his element. He did well. Also, I'm impressed with Nasser Hussein's shift. He was commentating in Dubai yesterday for the Women's World Cup and is straight over to Pakistan for day one. So I respect his commitment to the cause. Anything more to add, Luke?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's back on Sky. You get to hear these voices again. I think I'll tune in a bit more closely tomorrow. See if I can find my favourite advert.
Yeah. I'll be absolutely itching to hear. And Gower's back on, which I enjoyed his insight, and I think it's quite funny. He keeps sort of saying, "Ooh," some of it. I think I quoted one of the things he said was down towards long leg. It's still called long leg, isn't it? Some of these things seem to have changed, as if like he can't say long leg anymore, like some sort of woke sort of enforcement. So I thought that was slightly weird because he said something else along the same lines. But it was nice. It was nice to have him back because he's very, very insightful and knowledgeable about batting, especially. Thanks for joining me, Luke.
Thank
Pleasure
you,
as
Will.
always.
Yeah.
We are going to be back for day 2 tomorrow at about the same time. We may hopefully do a long form podcast as well, but it might be a bit too much with various commitments. But hopefully we can bring that to you on Wednesday morning as well. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.